I've had a couple of weird calls. One was a major MVA head-on many years ago when we played ME as well. We had two DOA, husband and spouse, that were killed instantly in a head-on collision. They had a 12-year-old daughter that was between them, and they actually took the impact, saving her life. While en route, we noticed the husband's arm had come loose, so I went back to restrap it. As I was doing that, the wife's arm suddenly fell out as well, and her hand fell onto her husband's. My boss was watching in the rearview mirror and helped clear the way as I ran back into the front. It spooked both of us. Apparently the couple, mid-30s, had just found out he was cancer-free after his last treatment. Had a young woman in full liver failure. She was orange in color, and she was still conscious. She asked me what I thought it would be like to die. I told her I didn't know, but I hoped it wouldn't be painful. Then she asked me if I ever thought I would go to heaven. I told her that I believed I would. She asked me if I thought she would go to heaven, and I told her I wasn't able to answer that question. She told me, I am going to heaven, and I know it. And I asked her how she knew. And she told me something that I will never forget. She told me, I know I am, because that man over there told me so. I asked what man, and she said the man sitting at the end of the bench. I asked her what he looked like, and she said, he looks just like the Jesus in the window of my church. Well, to tell you, I was pretty well affected by that statement. She went on to say, and he says that you're going to go to heaven too. We then prayed, and I will never forget that interaction between the two of us. About a week later, she passed away. I hope she made it to heaven. I've had a few fellow coworkers swear that strange things have occurred in the ER. Two people that I work with were chatting at the nurse's station when they both heard a scream, followed by incoherent words come from one of our open bays. There were 3 patients in the room, and they denied screaming or hearing anything. I also had fellow coworkers talk about hearing strange voices, especially after a really bad code. And one person states she felt someone grabbing her shoulder after the doc pronounced a trauma code. These are all respectable people, and I do not think they would lie. We responded to a sick call at about 4 a.m. Dispatch said he was at a hospice with a history of cancer who had not eaten for a couple of days and had pulled out his medication port. We get there, and it's this poor guy in his early 40s who is bald from chemo and sitting on his brother's couch. His skin was blotchy, pale, and purple, and he was hyperventilating and diaphoretic. His sister-in-law said he had been pacing from the bed to the couch all night, clearly agitated. We went out to get the stretcher, and when we came back in, he had crapped himself. He keeps saying, oh, no, oh, and looking around the room, flinching now and then, like he was waving at flies. We got him to sit up on the stretcher, and he said, no, not now. We assured him and rolled him out. The medic I was with asked me to get DNR papers because he's going to do it right now. I walked up to his brother and sister-in-law, got the papers, and returned just in time to see him cry a couple of big tears, sob a little, and then crumple. I had to tell his brother he had passed away. Not easy to see a man drop to his knees in a driveway. Then I got in and prepared to drive to the ER. As I wondered if the man would go to heaven, I got a bad feeling, like a darkness was creeping all around us. I happened to look down at the voltmeter when I saw the number, 666, flashing. This panel normally doesn't flash at all. It just reads voltage. It went from 666, then 0.1, then 666, then 0.1, then 666, then 0.1, and then it went back up to 1200 or so and stayed that way. The uneasy feeling went away, but I still prayed the whole way to the hospital. I felt sick as hell all that day and had a violent vomiting spell later on. Poor guy. I hope he's okay now. This is a true story about an ongoing haunting that is occurring in Richmond, Virginia, at a local ambulance company, located just off Broad Street near the Willow Lawn Shopping Center. My 25-year-old son-in-law has been working at this company as an emergency medical technician for approximately a year now. and he comes home weekly with new haunting stories. The small brick building was once a warehouse of some type, and during a fire many years ago, several people were trapped inside it and died. They were Hispanic migrant workers who apparently slept in the warehouse. It is now used as an ambulance company, and during the 24-hour shifts, EMT people are required to spend nights in the building. There's also a dispatcher who is always on duty, even during the night hours. When my son-in-law first went to work here, he wondered why the sleeping cots were set up in a smaller room rather than the larger bunk room. He was told that the larger room was haunted, and if people tried to sleep there, they'd feel cold hands on them at night. He didn't know whether to believe it or not, but he did notice that whenever he worked a 24-hour call shift and slept there, he had very bad nightmares, and he'd wake up to a cold tingling feeling running up and down his spine. They think there are at least 2 ghosts in that building. The first is an aggressive one who bangs on the chains on the bay door walls, walks around the Bay Area, slams doors, and puts his cold hands on people. The other is a woman who has also been seen in the office area. She was sighted recently when 2 ambulance workers walked by the office window and saw a short, dark-haired woman in the office. Not recognizing her, they went back to find out who she was, but she was no longer out there. Thanks for watching, guys. Fun fact, I actually used to want to be a EMT at one point in time, but then I realized I would probably have to drive the ambulance, and I don't like to drive, so that didn't happen. But I hope you like these stories. Some of them were kind of but some of them, I think the last 2 are pretty interesting. Don't forget, if you liked it, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. It would mean a lot to me. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.